Okay, can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, let's go ahead and kick it off. So today is January 12th, 2023. Happy New Year, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're going to go over the 127 planning spreadsheet. So we are in the beginning of the 127 planning milestone. If you have enhancements that you want to go into 17, please ensure that your enhancement ends up with a lead opted-in label. You can reach out to Michelle, myself, Shing, or Jan to help get that done. And the important dates to be aware of are listed here. The upcoming date to be aware of is February 2nd, which is the production readiness freeze, which means all the features that we want to go into 127 must have their KEPs approved by this date and must have an enhancement bug and have KEPs approved by this date. So if you have features that you want to get in, please keep those dates in mind. If you have anything else that you want to discuss today, feel free to add it to the agenda and we can come back to it. Looks like we have at least one item already. And then with that, I'll go ahead and switch over to the planning spreadsheet and see where we're at. What we did last time, if I remember correctly, was Shing copied over the incomplete items from the previous cycle as a starting point for 127. And so we'll go over these and make sure that they have owners assigned, make sure they still make sense for 127. And if you have anything that you think should go into 127, now's a good time to speak up and we can add it to the bottom as work being tracked by this SIG. And with that, I'll go ahead and kick it off. So first up, we have recovering from resize failures. So let me create a new column here for today's date. So I think we ended up pushing this into 127. Hemant, are you still the right person to help drive this?
I don't see Hemant here, but yes, he is the right person and he would like to continue.
Awesome, cool. And we'll drive that to beta this cycle. So cool, thank you, Jan. Next up is issues related to assuming volumes are mount points. Is Jing on the call by any chance? Okay. Owner information needed. So we'll follow up on that. Next is the volume group API. So I think there's been a lot of progress made here. Shing, track for 127?
Yes.
Awesome. Next up, so PVC volume snapshot namespace transfer, we ended up dropping. Is this still a feature anyone is interested in helping drive? If so, now might be a good time to volunteer and help shepherd it along.
I think we probably don't need that anymore. Now we have the next one, the provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot PVC. That's
fair. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and just drop number 5. So if we come back to it, we can reintroduce it. So for provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot PVC, last status was 1 PR pending on populator, almost ready, may need more work to move it to beta. So did we finish the alpha work, and is the target for this cycle beta?
Michelle, you talking?
Sorry, which one is this?
This is the provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot PVC. So
I
two
think
questions here. One is, did the work get completed for the last cycle, and do we want to move to beta this cycle?
I think the work got partially completed last cycle, so I think this cycle will continue finishing up all the pieces. And there's also there's a couple of things we need to do, like we need to talk with, before we get to beta. So we need to talk with SIG auth to get one of the reference grant API that we're depending on into this SIG auth space, because right now it's currently under SIG networking. And so I think that's a big thing we need to resolve before we can go to beta.
Okay, so I'll leave this as alpha for this cycle. And I'll continue work on it, so continue. Okay, thank you, Michelle. Next is CSI volume health, additional metrics.
So I think we will give a shot. I mean, this Ryan is still working on the ETV test. If that can get merged before the cap freeze deadline, then we can go to beta.
Got it. So we'll continue to try to complete standing work for beta before cap freeze. Okay. Then CSI volume health, something we want to pick up again for this cycle or not?
I haven't heard from Nick, so probably not.
Okay. So let me, so the programmatic response piece. So let me go ahead and drop that for now. If we decide to pick this back up, we can reintroduce it.
Okay.
And volume populator data source, add metric support testing out of tree. So this ended up getting dropped. Anyone interested in picking this back up? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and remove this one as well. And object storage API cozy. So I think this was on hold. Anything new here?
We are just working on a few proposals to improve the spec as of now, the bucket claim spec.
Awesome. Thank you, Akash. And
Sure.
is there any particular milestone that you're driving to for this cycle?
Not particularly right now.
Got it. Okay. And should we track it for this cycle then, or just drop it?
I think there will be nothing much which will be coming in for this cycle.
Okay. So I'll go ahead and drop it for now until there's any significant milestone, and then we can pick it back up in terms of tracking. Thank you, Akash.
Sure.
Next is change block tracking. So I know there was an update here on the CSI side, just a discussion. Sounds like it's still in progress.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Yvonne is here. I think we probably want to try to move to alpha. So because it's still a lot of work going on this.
Yep, makes sense. So let's keep tracking it, and alpha makes sense here. Next is new RWO access modes. I think this is pushing, is it targeting beta in 127? Michelle, do you know if Chris is still interested in driving this, or anyone else?
I think he is driving this, and he's actually done a lot of work last cycle to prepare for the beta promotion.
Nice.
So yeah.
Michelle, is the work pretty much done other than changing the feature gate?
Yeah, I think the only thing remaining is to flip the feature gate. But I think we need to, I don't remember if the cap has been updated yet and gotten the reviews for the 127 cycle.
Oh, okay, PRR, no, maybe still need
PR, and yeah, that might need to be done first.
Okay, so Chris will be back in time for that? Because he said he's going to
Um,
off.
Yeah, I need to double check with him. Yeah, because he was gonna be out for a while.
Cool. Thank you for the update, Michelle. Next is runtime assisted mounting. Deep.
Hey, so yeah, this one is really blocked on the CSI spec changes at this point. I haven't had seen any reviews on the CSI spec PR, so would really appreciate that if possible.
And still targeting 127 for an alpha.
So I was thinking like if the CSI spec does not get reviewed and approved, I don't think we can go with 127. So it's kind of dependent on that.
There. So based on CSI spec changes, we'll decide when to drive to alpha.
That's good.
Cool. And for folks on the call who are interested in this feature, please help review it. There's a PR on the CSI spec repo. Take a look and provide your feedback.
So Deep, do you want us to add the opt-in label for 1.27? We can take a shot, right? We can just see if it can go in. Or you
Sure.
want to, okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea, Xing.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Deep. Thank you, Xing. Next is CSI proxy for Windows transition to privileged containers out of tree. Let's see, last status here was design spec out for review, feature branch in CSI proxy. I'm assuming Mauricio is still going to continue to drive this for 127.
Yeah, I think the cap is out and it has gone through some reviews. Looking pretty solid right now. I think it's just like waiting on approvals.
Got it. Awesome. Thank you, Deep.
Sure.
Next is CSI proxy performance issue. I think this was no update for a long time. I don't think it even has an owner. Is this still an issue? Is this still something someone's going to work on?
I think we can probably take this offline. I think there is an issue in the CSI proxy repo that's open for this.
Got it. So you're saying don't track it here or discuss
Yeah.
offline and come back.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because right now I don't think anyone is actively looking at this.
fair. So I'll go ahead and remove this unless somebody's actually picking it up. Thank you, Michelle. Next is node expansion secret E2E test. I think last status here was check with Humble and Alex Mead on this. Anyone get a chance to do that?
So I checked with Humble. He said he will target 1.27.
Awesome.
Work on the tree test.
Okay. Thank you, Xing. Next is SE Linux relabeling using mount options, CSI driver API changes.
So I would like to continue in 127. And we have been testing the current approach, and maybe we will need to change the enhancement and stay alpha for one more release. Out of curiosity, is here anyone who uses SE Linux in Kubernetes? I know about the Deep. Is here anybody else? Nope. All right, Deep, I will talk to you offline, maybe on Slack. How to approach read-write many volumes. Maybe there is a way how to speed up the proposal.
Awesome. So if anyone on the call is interested in SE Linux relabeling using mount options, please talk to Jan. Test out the feature. Hopefully it works for you. If not, this is a good time to get the changes that you need.
So we do have a We do have a customer asking for this one. But yeah, no one has tried this yet.
Mhm. And do you know, do they use read-write many volumes, or what kind of
Oh.
volume they would like to use?
That I don't know.
Mhm.
I'll have to check. Because last time they found this feature and then they realized this feature is still alpha. They can't use it yet. That's all I know. So, but I can check. So you said the problem is with the
Currently, we aim only at read-write once pod volumes, which is great, but like a lot of people use read-write many volumes, and Linux is hard for them. So I was thinking if they use NFS or SFFS, it should be possible to mount them with the right Linux context right away. But for other shared file system, I don't know.
Okay.
If you have anything special in VMware.
I'll check and see. I don't remember the exact case. I'll check.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, moving on, CSI migration, anything new here for 127? So I'm going to remove core. Sounds like we don't have much more work there. CSI migration, remove entry GCE. Matt, are you on the call? Is that something we want to do for 127?
I don't think so. So, I mean, if I understand that this is like actually tear out the code.
Yep.
Yeah, I suspect we're not going to have bandwidth to do that.
Okay.
I think we also said it needs to be 2 releases after GA. So
it's already been 2 releases. Yeah, I think we checked
okay.
last time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think we GA'd in 125.
Okay.
I think delaying the removal is not a big deal. We should try to get to it soon, but not the end of the world. So I'll go ahead and remove it for this cycle, and then hopefully we can pick it up. That's 128. And then
yeah, I mean, I guess that we could add, if there is someone who is interested in taking this on as like a contribution thing, this would be a good project, I think.
Yeah, code deletion is a fun project.
Yeah.
Maybe it's better to keep it here because otherwise we'll forget.
Okay, that's fair.
We
so
can
do this.
We can create a 128 tab and move it there.
I'll just leave it here and say looking for volunteers.
We have quite a few of those. I forget which one is need to be deleted.
We'll just mark it as not started. Priority is going to be, let's call it P2. And this is bug level work. And does not need a enhancement issue as far as I understand. All right, cool. So next is vSphere, Windows support, raw block, beta on by default. So this was merged for 126. Docs PR merged, release notes added. Anything new for 127? So
this is done. So the only thing is, that's the thing. Do we need to keep this here so we don't forget to remove it in 2 releases? That's the only thing. We have a lot of plugins. It's kind of hard to keep track of all of those.
Let's do this. Remove entry 127 in 1.28.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
We'll just copy this over. And then we'll remove this one. And remove AWS EBS. Same thing, I'm guessing. We're looking for volunteers.
Oh, the one above is you mean vSphere, right? We have two.
Sorry,
you-
this 128. This is tracking for next release for EBS.
Oh,
Yeah, I think someone from
okay.
AWS will pick it up in
I was
128.
I was just wondering, you have two GC. You want
do I?
two?
Hang on, let me fix
What
that.
do you mean for
Oh,
one
yes,
for
yeah.
vSphere? Is that the
Thank you for catching that. Cool. Thank you for catching that, Xing. And Wayne, you were saying something about AWS?
Yeah, someone from AWS will pick it up in 128.
Got it. Okay. So I'll leave it as looking for volunteers now until we have that person identified. Is that okay?
Perfect. Yeah.
All right, cool. Then next up we have Azure Disk, which has been in GA for 2 releases. Okay to delete. So I'll go ahead and remove that. And I'm guessing same story here. We're just waiting for.
I think Andy started in 1.26, but then he got some questions. So he can
Got it.
probably look at this again.
Okay. So I'll mark this one as started. And Azure file successfully moved to GA. So I think we need to have a tracking line here for Azure file.
Right, Azure, so probably 1.28 then.
Okay. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and remove the Azure file. And then we've got Ceph RBD and Ceph FS. Last status here was we'll move these to 127. Do you know, Xing, if Humble's still going to pick this up?
Oh yes, he said for Ceph RBD, he's going to target beta in 1.27.
Okay.
But for Ceph FS, he's still evaluating.
You got it. So beta for 127 and TBD on this one. Okay. Cool. Thank you, Xing. And then we've got Portworx. So I think we kind of lost track of this as we had no Portworx folks on the call. Anyone from Portworx here?
I can check with Oksana. I'm not sure what whether she want to target anything this second. Yeah, I'll check with her.
So let's uncross it out for now. And we'll say not started. Actually, this is a beta, so leave that as is. And comment is we'll check with Portworx folks if they want to do this in G7. All right, cool. Then you have always honor reclaim policy, end-to-end test, code changes. This was still needs end-to-end test. We'll probably target beta. Anything new here? Still targeting 127?
I was actually going to check with Deepak on this one. It's just that he has a dependency on the next one because Ronak is adding this EDU test framework
Got it.
in Kubernetes CSI, so there is a little bit dependency there. Let me check with him first.
Okay. We'll confirm. 7. Okay, and then for the next one, is that confirmed?
Yeah, that one is fine. Yeah, so E2 tests are in progress.
Perfect. Thank you, Sheng. And then we've got a set that have been crossed out. So let's see if we want to keep them or not. Secret protection, prevent deletion while in use, depends on the in-use protection, and the in-use protection. We kind of lost track of this. Masaki, I guess, hasn't been around for a bit. Anything new on this? Okay, I'm going to propose that we drop this unless someone else wants to pick it up or we hear back from Masaki. Both of these. Any objections?
It's totally fine.
Okay. Go ahead and delete that. Next up is SIG auth, user ID ownership and config maps and secrets. So this one, let's see. Again, I think we lost track of this. Nobody was driving it. Same thing. Anyone interested in driving it? If not, I'll go ahead and drop it for now. Okay, I'm going to drop it for now. And then the remainder here are, actually, let's pull these two up. So we'll put the cross SIG ones at the bottom. So better default storage class. Wait for one more release before moving to GA. Do we want to do anything else here? This release? Or is this just for tracking some work next release?
I think it's just for tracking.
Okay, so then I'll put GA in 128 here and mark this as not started. Free is fine. We'll switch this to GA. And make a comment. This is just for tracking.
There is the column for 1.26, that's still beta, right? You changed that one to G. Two. The one is for targeting 1.27, the other one is status in 1.26, right? So that should still be
Which
beta.
column are you looking at?
Okay, so what is this one? This is F column.
Oh, that's the previous one. Yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. Sounds good. Next is quality of service stuff. Matt Carey, is this something?
Yeah, actually, there's a note in the agenda. I think we'd like to do a KEP for 127. We should have a draft of that available. There, as you all know, we've been having a discussion and a meeting on that. We haven't reached consensus, but I think we've explored the ideas enough that I think a possibly productive way to go forward is like we have a KEP that we're going to propose, and then we can have, I think, concrete discussion on that. We should have a draft out by end of this week, tomorrow, I guess, and we'll try to schedule a meeting in the next week or so.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, is the target alpha for this cycle opportunistically or just design?
I think alpha for this cycle.
Got it. Okay. Awesome.
May as well be ambitious.
Yeah, we can always remove it if that doesn't happen. Cool. Thank
Yep.
you, Matt. I know a lot of people on this call have been interested in this topic for a long time, so please help review Matt's KEP and provide your feedback for volumes. Okay, cool. Thanks, Matt. So the rest of these are co-owned between SIG storage and other SIGs. So first up, we have SIG node, non-graceful node shutdown. I think this was adding end-to-end tests. We'll wait one more release for GA. So I think this is just for tracking this cycle.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Let's put it this way. update this one to GA. This is started. All right, next is run kubelet without rootless mode. Last status here, not sure if targeting beta. Hamant's going to check. Hamant, have you had a chance to follow up on this one?
No, I didn't have a chance. I could check it. Rootless mode.
Okay, and same thing for the next one, probably.
Yeah, it's still not tracked actually, the rootless mode. So yeah.
Got it.
So we can just, it's not gonna go anywhere.
Okay, should we just drop it?
Yeah, probably. I mean, we can cross it out because it will come back to us. Yeah.
Got it. I guess we could do what we're doing here, track it for a future.
Yeah.
So let's do that. And this is alpha in 128.
In 127, right? I mean, it's alpha already right now.
Oh, it's already alpha. So it would be where no work in 127, target beta in 128.
I don't know. They could also keep it in alpha and just modify the features. So we don't know. We can just maybe keep it. I mean, they're not targeting. There hadn't been any update on that the issue.
I think then your suggestion of just crossing it out might be the best. And we'll put a comment here. Clear SIG node plan with this. This so there is progress. Okay, and then same thing for this one or different story?
Yeah, same thing for this.
Sounds
They're
good.
working on it, but yeah, but no, it's not changing any milestone.
Got it. Okay. And then the final two that we have are SIG apps. First up, address issues. PVC created by stateful set will not be auto removed. This will target data.
Yes. Yeah, the current work, as it turns out, the CSI migration for GCE has kind of screwed up a lot of the alpha end-to-end testing stuff. So I'm trying to sort that out now. In that issue there that I just posted in the chat here has the details.
Cool. Copy that into.
Yeah, and just as an aside, the issue here involves redoing a bit of how the CSI storage test framework works. So please comment if you have questions. I think Jan has started a discussion there, so thank you for that.
Cool. Thank you for driving this, Matt. Okay, next up we have volume expansion for stateful sets. And this was going to be kept in design. Is that still just targeting design for 127?
Yeah, in this release, I want to work with the design. If we have to if need be, find new owners, but there's already a PR open. So I need to find out if that person is still interested and then obviously review it and everything. So, but we'll keep it at design for now.
Got it. Okay, so I'll leave this open for now. With that, anyone else have a feature that they think we should be working on for 127 that's not tracked here?
So I have one that I would like to work on just in the design phase. I just opened an enhancement issue today. We had some small group discussions on this. I need to incorporate that feedback and work on a KEP and a prototype. So I labeled this. Sorry.
Let me look at the chat real quick.
Yeah, I labeled it efficient mount time handling of FS group.
Got it. And status here is started or not started?
It started. It's purely for design work though.
Okay. So enhancement issues here. Okay, and you're planning to open a cup for this?
Yes.
Perfect. So we'll open cap for 127, focus on design. Awesome. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, anything else anyone wants to add to this? All right, with that, we'll go ahead and switch back to our agenda. So 2 topics. First up, Jan, anyone interested in adding release timestamp to PV?
So yeah, we've got a customer who wants to have a custom policy when they garbage collect released PVs. So they want to have it like freely configurable, and that's probably out of scope of this call, but they need to know when a PV was released, like a timestamp or something like that. There are many ways how to do it. One of them is completely out of tree, use some annotation or something and watch PVs, that's easy. But is there anybody interested in having like a field in PV status when we moved PV to release state or something like that? And then you can like write a shell script that lists YAML files and filters, whatever you want. So that would be simple for everybody if we had that field.
Seems like not a bad change, and I don't think it would hurt anyone to have one more piece of information. I wouldn't object to it.
I mean, I think if we look at, say, like pod status, I think pod status has a lot of that, right, for their conditions. And they'll have timestamps for when like a pod became terminated and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I have just one issue with new fields because that field wouldn't be used in Kubernetes. It will be just exposed, and that's like one downside. I'm not sure if it's good design if we have a field that's not used.
I think if it's in status, that's okay, right? The intention of putting in status is like it could be either informative to the end user or programmatic use outside of Kubernetes. So
Okay.
I think that should be okay from my end.
Yeah, like I think no one uses, going back to pod status, I don't think any controller depends on the, well, I mean, they depend on the state, but not necessarily like the timestamp.
Right. So yeah, I may, or we may design something, and that could be actually 127 feature, because I don't know, this is just one field somewhere, or maybe a new condition of the field. You just need a few lines in the PV controller to put it there.
We
and
are
that's it.
adding this for the same reason. Can we also add boarding house status in there? That's also something that we discussed before. I think one of the reasons that we said previously was that since Kubernetes are not using it, we cannot add that as a first class field. I was just wondering, I mean, I'm fine adding this one. I'm just wondering, can we also add a boarding house status in there? Of course, it will be a different feature. That's also, something a status, right?
Like anybody can add a new condition to a PV. I hope we have conditions in PV. It doesn't need to be PV controller. It can be anything, even external. So that would be the way for me, probably for external components.
So say that again, Jan.
I'm not
Like
getting what you're saying.
you can add conditions to PV easily, like it's just an array. And I think it can be added also by external components, not just Kubernetes or PV controller.
No. What I was asking is whether we could. This will be added by Kubernetes. This will be added by us. It's just the field will not be used actually after it's added, right? Oh, that's
Yeah,
not
like
asking about the.
it makes sense to me.
I was thinking seems to me it's similar to this time-strand field. Not exactly the same, but very similar, I think.
Yeah.
I think the concern on the volume health side might be the programmatic use of it needs to be thought through a little bit more to make sure people don't shoot themselves in the foot.
Right, but any time you add a field there, you don't really know what people are doing with it, right?
Yeah,
So that's the same thing with
it's
this
true.
But the semantics of the field must be crystal clear. What does it mean?
Yeah.
That could be complicated for volume health. If you say unhealthy, then what does it mean?
Yeah, so actually, it's an interesting point that you bring up. We are actually in the process of implementing volume health monitoring for AWS, and we have been looking at the current proposal. And right now, I think one of the challenges that we have is that we just get like a single bit to declare whether the volume is healthy or unhealthy. And calling a volume unhealthy has a lot of consequences in terms of how that is perceived by the application. So we'd like to get a little bit more granularity in terms of when we report status as to what might be happening with the volume. So this is just based on some preliminary thought that we have. We will provide a more detailed analysis of what we feel at some point in the near future, but I just wanted to mention it here because we were talking about volume health monitoring.
Yeah, sure. If you have some feedback, that'll be great. But we actually, in the beginning, we do have like a range of fields. But before the feature was merged, we actually reduced it to just this one flag. And then we can add more in the future. That was the initial.
I see. Okay, yeah. So that's good to know. We can certainly come up with some kind of a proposal to make which would explain what we are thinking, how we are thinking about it, and we can have that discussed here.
There's one challenge is to like how to use this field, like when that's the exactly what we're discussing here, right? That's the one thing that we have not reached a consensus. But for us internally, we actually do have a volume health field that we use, which is just whether the volume is accessible or not accessible. And based on that, higher level application will make decisions on what to do with it.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I can tell you right now is that from the AWS perspective, right, you may want to declare, like there may be something going on with the volume. It may not be in like good health, but the moment you declare a volume to be unhealthy, there can be consequences in terms of how that volume is actually handled in terms of faults, alarms, etc. So you may not want to trigger something that indicates that the volume is completely unusable, right? So what would be helpful is if you could have some kind of a progression indicating that, okay, it's not healthy, the volume is not healthy at this point, but we don't want any further action taken at this point, and then leave it up to the application to determine what the behavior might be in that case or something along those lines. So we can certainly provide something which explains a position better in a future proposal if necessary.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I remember having a lot of these conversations when we were originally trying to design this. And I think the challenge was really coming up with what subset of information would work for everyone.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I was going to say that getting a common set was the sticking point. And so what we agreed to way back when we were originally designing this feature is it only makes sense to have multiple like levels of severity if you can define what different automated action would be taken in response to those different levels. And so what we said was we'll just do one, then we'll figure out what automated actions we want to implement in response to these. And then if we can think of multiple automated actions that we should take, then we'll introduce those multiple levels of severity. But we've never gotten to that point where something is listening and responding to these health notifications.
Yeah, so
that's what needs to happen, right? We need to say, okay, severity 1 means do X and severity 2 means do Y. So then everyone understands what will happen when they report a certain problem.
Yeah. My first preliminary thought on that, and it's I may be wrong about this, is that if we can come up with some kind of a framework where we don't have to specify the entire set right away, but just provide a set of values that we know for a fact would be helpful, and that can be extended in the future. I think that would be the way to go, because you can certainly imagine scenarios where storage providers might want to do something specific to what their implementations are want them to do, and so having some set of standardized values would be helpful.
Interoperable. That's the challenge. Like it does no good if one storage vendor implements a bunch of different levels and then custom codes their application to deal with those levels. It's not interoperable with anything else. And so whatever we define has to be something that you can plug in any storage system and get the same results.
Got it. Got it.
If I mean, it is true that a lot of individual storage systems have tons of detail, but the right way to extract that detail is through some proprietary channel rather than the standardized interface.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to standardize this.
Yeah, so I'll go back to my team and we'll try to come up with something that makes sense, at least from our perspective, and then we can discuss that in more detail.
Yeah, but
the good news here is that now we have more than one kind of company trying to implement the use of this feature. So I think moving it forward will be easier when you have at least a concrete use case.
Yep, makes sense.
Sorry, Shane, I cut you off. You want to finish your thought?
Oh, I was just saying that, like in our case, we actually just have this one flag, but we don't call it healthy or non-healthy. We call it accessible or not accessible. So just this one value, and based on that, we make decisions. This is already in production. Yeah, but definitely we probably need to come back.
I remember having the discussion around like healthy and unhealthy being too vague, and inaccessible might be being more specific might help here. But yeah, that's good to know. Okay, I think that's worth a follow-up discussion. Going back to Jan's point, it sounds like his flag is kind of simple enough that I think we should be okay with it. Jan,
yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I also had one more use case, just kind of related to the original like timestamp on phases thing. But I think in general, for like one of the things that we'd like to do is really track end-to-end latency of how long it takes for operations to happen. Like how long does it take from someone creating a PVC to that PVC getting provisioned, or how long does it take from when a pod gets scheduled to when that volume gets attached to a node, that kind of thing. And so I think one of the challenges is we do have operation metrics today, but they're only good at tracking like a single iteration of the controller loop. They're not good at tracking like time taken across multiple retries. And so I think having in general, like in all of our objects, having like a timestamp when things reach certain phases, I think would help with that kind of observability.
Actually, adding to that, that reminded me, for our volume health implementation, we also actually added a timestamp, because we need to, based on the time spent, to decide if it's become inaccessible. Maybe after an hour, we will do some reaction. If it's less than an hour, maybe we'll still wait.
So what I'm hearing from Michelle is there should be timestamp for the phase change. So where the volume was bound, where the volume was released, when it was, I don't know what. And the same for PVC, when the PVC was bound, when the PVC was, well, there is no other state. Deleted.
I mean, we do have some end-to-end metrics for provisioning operation, just provisioning. And
Yeah, I think I think I
It's-
remember the implementation of those metrics were really difficult.
yeah, pretty gnarly.
And they don't work if, say, the controller crashes and restarts, because it had to keep a bunch of state in memory of like an operation. And so I think having it in the actual Kubernetes API, I think would be easier to, or would be more reliable. And there's also things like, there's projects like Kube state metrics that I think could take advantage of that if we actually had the information in the API itself.
So we don't have like conditions in the PV, like what Jan referred earlier. Like, so this could be potentially implemented via conditions, I guess.
Not if we want to capture all the phases.
Folks, I've got a hard stop at 10. Let's move this discussion to a bug.
Sure.
It sounds like something we are interested in. Matt, do you want to quickly comment on this design discussion?
Yeah, this is exactly the thing I mentioned before about the KEP proposal. As I said, we'll have a draft out shortly. I put a link into the doc that's captured the existing discussion meetings from last month. So please check it out and watch this space for the KEP, and you'll see the KEP issue, and please review and give comments, etc.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Matt, do you have like weekly meetings, or like if there's anything like, I don't know if you're sending the invites to the group, the SIG Stories group, or like, I don't know.
I haven't. We haven't had a regular meeting. We had a meeting before the holidays, and this doc represents picking that up. If there's interest in having a weekly meeting as we refine the KEP, that would be great. So yeah, I will for sure post additional details here, but you haven't missed anything.
Cool.
All right, thanks a lot, folks.
Yeah, it would be great if we can get to some kind of a convergence around this proposal. I think quite a few people have been asking for this capability for a while, so it would be great if we can come up with some way forward here. So
yeah, cool.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Sorry for the hard stop. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You.